flying by. I also hope everyone is warm wherever you are after all of the power outages that we've got going on. So we're on Zoom, and yeah, I'm scrolling down to see everybody, and it's nice to see all of you who are with us today. Should we go ahead and go to the next slide? So y'all, technology.
Blank. Yeah, technology. Showing up blank on mine. Anybody have any ideas about that? Here we go.
Great. So at our last meeting, we welcomed some new members to the governance committee, and it looks like we have even more new members to this governance committee. Linda, would you like to go through all of the new members since our last meeting?
Sure. So we so let me I just want to start and share with everybody in case you didn't see the emails that the Durham office of CCSA has no power, which means we can't access our servers. And so we had to reconstitute some things. And I apologize that our slide deck in some places may be a little wonky. So having said that, we do welcome today two additional members of our team. Jason, let me see. I'm trying to see. We'll do introductions. We'll have everybody go around and introduce themselves. But I wanted to share that, as you may remember, we have on this governance group, we asked the board chair of Durham's Partnership for Children, as well as the board chair of CCSA, to be voting members of governance. And this month, today, we're joined by one of the assistant directors from Durham Parks and Recreation. He is the board chair of Durham's Partnership for Children. Jason has been with Durham's Partnership for Children's board for a few years and is the recently installed chair. And he's joining governance as one of our new voting members. And then Maytal is the new. I'm really excited, and we'll do introductions and everything. But Maytal is the new early childhood coordinator for Durham County, and the early childhood position is housed in cooperative extension, and as in part of Durham County's commitment to early education investments across Durham. And Maytal is the new, she replaced Kate Elander, who was part of this group as a resource position, and she's able to join us today too. So we are very excited to complete our new additions for this year. We typically have new members join in November, and we're excited to have our full complement of new members today. Jason from Parks and Rec isn't able to come today, but he has had an orientation and is glad to be serving in the role. So we're excited that he'll be joining us. We also, last month, we welcomed Alex Laud. We welcomed Brittany Gregory as an official member. She had been a resource member in the past when she worked at Durham Partnership for Children. Jason Rutherford and Charlotta Richardson from Durham's Children Initiative, DCI, as well as membership from Book Harvest, to be new members of governance moving forward. So, but we should probably just do introductions to everyone because we are in a new space, and we've got a lot of folks who haven't been able to join us the last couple of meetings who were able to come today. So Kathy, you want to start us off with some introductions?
Sure. So we're just going to introduce ourselves and then tag somebody else to go and introduce themselves. And so I think on the next screen, we've got some prompts for you to use when you're introducing yourself. So hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Colley Robinson. This is my first governance committee as the chair. I am the chair of Durham Tech's early childhood and teacher prep programs. And I'm just happy to be here today, really excited to be part of the Durham Pre-K work. All right, so I'm gonna pass it to, well, Joy, you're the next one on my screen, so I'm passing it to you.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Joy. Um, let's see. I am with Equity Before Birth, but I love to wear the hat of former Durham Pre-K parent. I'm on this board. My baby girl is currently in kindergarten, but she was in the Durham Pre-K program last school year. But I do serve as executive director of Equity Before Birth as well. And I don't know. My brain's kind of foggy. Y'all know all the changes going on. Y'all will see my 5-year-old interrupt momentarily. Her school is one of the ones without power, unfortunately. So I don't have a cool fact to share because I'm still kind of in Fogville trying to regroup for the day. But I'm glad to be here, and I'll popcorn to Maytal.
Thank you, Joy. Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with this group this morning. My name is Maytal Barak, and I am the new early childhood coordinator for Durham County. I am originally from Caracas, Venezuela, and I've been in Durham for over 17 years. Durham is my home, and I love this community very much. Those of you who've known me, I'm sure have seen that firsthand, and I look forward to continuing this partnership and collaboration in community for our children and families. And I'll popcorn to Brianna.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brianna Head. I am with CCSA as the DPK admin coordinator. I do apologize. I am a little under the weather this morning. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been here since October now, and this will be my second meeting. So glad to be here. And next on my screen, I have Tamara.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tamara Mathis, Director of Durham Pre-K. Anything that might be helpful? Well, I've been with Durham Pre-K. This is going on year 2. And so I'm enjoying it as well. And I've been working in Durham. I've worked at Durham for a long time prior to this. But excited to continue this work, and I'm glad to be here. I will popcorn it to Mr. Kaysen, my former band director and great instructor in North Carolina Central University.
All right, now. Good morning, everyone. I'm Xavier Case, and I work for the Durham Public Schools Foundation as Director of Community Schools. Tamara gave my background, so we'll keep it moving. I'll pass it to Monty.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Monty Griggs. I'm with CCSA. I'm the Senior Director for Quality Enhancement Initiatives, and been blessed to do this work for 16 years now with CCSA. And so just excited to see all the great things we're doing and for the community of Durham. So, and I will pass it to Tabitha.
Hello, I'm Tabitha Blackwell, and I'm with Book Harvest, and I am the executive director of Book Harvest Durham. And something helpful for the group to know, it's been 2 years that almost 2 years that I've been in this position, but I was lucky enough to be on Book Harvest's board for 6 years, and so this is my first position in Durham, but I'm from Roxborough and I know the area well. So it's great to be with you all. And with that, I will go to Joy.
I'm Joy Turner. I'm the Director of Data and Provider Relations at CCSA. I've been at CCSA for 7 years and excited to have been with Durham Pre-K since the beginning and seen it grow over the years. I'll pass to June.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me? We've had some COVID exposure over here, so hence the mask. I am the director of Yates Baptist Child Development Centre, and I'm here as a representative for the providers in the community. And it's really good to be here. I think I've been on this committee about 2 years now, if I'm right. It's a privilege to work with on this committee. I will pass it to who hasn't had a turn, Maggie West.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maggie, and I work with Child Care Services Association, and I serve as the Durham Pre-K Workforce Support Program Manager. And then, helpful to know, I started in this position last April, and prior to that, I got to work with Kathy at Durham Tech. I will pass it to Ms. Darnella.
Darnella, are you, yeah, are you able to hear, unmute? No, maybe not.
I can go next.
Great, whoever just said that.
My name is Alexandra Hollid. I go by Alex, and I work at American Institutes for Research. I lead our early childhood work group, and I'm a senior researcher here, and my work has focused on early childhood program quality, including quality rating systems and the professional development supports that are incorporated. And I also have done quite a bit of work on interventions for early literacy in pre-K settings.
All right, thanks, Alex. Do you want to pass it to somebody?
Raise your hand if you haven't gone, because I don't have a good census. Jason.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Jason Rutherford. I'm here as a part of my fraternity. Actually, I'm the regional director for social action, but more locally, I've been the president of the Durham Sigma chapter for the past 4 years. We've done about 5 different partnerships with Durham Pre-K. We're excited about continuing the partnership and donations to the different sites around the city. But that's what we do. Our fraternity tries to meet the community wherever the need is. More recently, we fed about 1,500 people for Thanksgiving, and we're gearing up for your early registration that you all have coming, or we have coming now. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great. Okay, so Deborah, Michelle, let's see, Kate, Yoma, Adrian, Tosh, maybe that's who we have left.
Christy.
Oh, Jamaica, Christy. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Deborah, Adrian, Kate.
We got a big group.
We're a big group today. That's wonderful.
Happy to go real quick. Ioma Iruka, pronouns are she, her, hers. I am here at UNC Chapel Hill, founding director of the Equity Research Action Coalition at UNC Chapel Hill and professor in public policy. And really just do work across the prenatal to age A space, thinking about issues of racial equity, poverty, equality, etc. And obviously your former chair. So very glad to be here with you all. And I hope you're staying warm in this new year. I will pass it over to Christy.
Thanks, Yoma. And of course, my dog barks. I apologize. Good morning, everyone. My name is Christy Snuggs. I am the president at Child Care Services Association. Actually can say I've been here 14 months now, over a year. And anything that would be helpful is I've been involved with North Carolina pre-K program since its inception as More at 4. Know pre-K very well, worked with several communities to start up pre-K programs, and very excited to be part of Durham Pre-K because I will tell you, you're the best. So thank you so much. And I will pass it over to Jamaica.
Thank you, Christy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamaica Wells. I work with Durham's Partnership for Children. I am the interim program director currently. And the helpful information for me is I am currently wearing 2 hats, interim program director and pre-K program manager. So there's that. Good to see you all.
All right, Jamika, who are you passing it to?
My bad. Hold on 2 seconds because I was trying to keep track. I think Michelle Lynn did not have the opportunity to speak yet.
Thanks, Jamaica. Michelle Lynn, I am with the Duke University School of Medicine, and I serve as the chief of its Division of Community Health. And I've been there way too long that I'd like to think about, but almost 30 years ago, when I was with Durham Public Schools, I worked with Duke Health to start the school-based health center out at Southern High School. It's now almost be 30 years old. Good to be here and working with this group.
Well, you're dating us, Michelle.
I know. Sorry, Linda.
It's like, oh man.
Okay, I'm going through the list. I think, Adrian, have you gone?
No, I haven't.
All right, your turn.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Excuse me. I am Adrian Stevens. I am with Durham PreK. I am the Communications and Public Engagement Coordinator. I'm still a new kid on the block. I've been here since last October. This is my second meeting. Glad to be here. Let's see, I'm going to pass it to Tosh.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Darnella Warden. I represent the provider community. I'm not Tosh, but I don't think I know I haven't gone and said good morning to everybody. Something helpful about me, I've been in the field now 30 plus years, and I don't see myself slowing down.
Thanks, Darnella.
I'll go ahead.
Oh, yep.
Tosh said that she can't unmute. She texted me, but Tosh is our outreach and family engagement coordinator. You have probably seen her out in the community, tabling, hosting events, putting out yard signs. And I'm Jenna Fuchs. I'm the Durham PreK manager for CCSA. I've been here a little over 2 years. Tosh and I actually started on the same day, a little over a couple years ago. Good to see you all this morning. And I'm going to pass it to Kate.
Good morning, everyone. Forgive me for not coming on camera because I am driving, but it is hands-free. I am Kate Goodwin. I am a owner and advocate for early childhood. I am a veteran of 35 years and co-founder of Truth Education Foundation, who are doing the research around implicit bias and exclusionary practices, as well as understanding and empowering, championing an empowerment model for our educators. Something about me is I don't know that I know how to stop. So this is my work, my purpose, and my drive. And I'm glad to be here today. I have been absent for a very long time on this call, so glad to be back.
Great. All right, Kate, I'll do the popcorning for you. So Deborah, yeah, if you'd like to go.
Good morning, everyone. Debbie Pittman, working with Durham Public Schools, and I'm out of the Office of Academic Services. It's great to be with you. And although I've been in Durham a number of years, I think this is my second formal governance meeting. So I'm a bit of a newbie, but not new to the work. It's good to see everyone.
Great, thanks. And Brittany, I think you are our last one.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm not on camera. But my name's Brittany Gregory. I am the parent rep, and I am happy to be here. One thing to know about me, I had the lovely pleasure of working at Durham's Partnership for Children for the last 7 years. I stepped down from my position at the end of June, and I am a mom of one and soon to be two. So, hey, y'all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody. Now, just to double check, I'm such a teacher, y'all. I was writing your names as you were going. Did everyone get a chance to introduce themselves? Okay.
Everybody except me.
Linda, introduce yourself.
I just remembered. I'm Linda Chappelle, and I am Senior Vice President of Child Care Services Association and have the absolute pleasure of working with the Child Care Resource and Referral Team. at CCSA. And just the thing to know about me is that I feel absolutely excited and blessed to have the opportunity to work with this Universal Pre-K program. It's a dream of my career to have a community invest in early education the way Durham is. And as a Durham resident, I'm really proud. And as an advocate and as someone who works in a broad swath of counties in North Carolina, we're always singing the praises of this program. So people get tired of hearing me talk about it. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Welcome, everybody. I am thrilled that we have so many folks on the meeting today. Before we get going with the nitty-gritty of the meeting, let's just remember our virtual meeting protocols. Mute unless you're speaking. Have your camera on if you're able to do so, if that's feasible for you. Please use the chat box to put any comments, questions that you might have. There are a lot of people who are keeping a close eye on that chat box, so please use that. We might encounter some technical challenges, especially today with the power outages that are happening in Durham. And then I will remind you of this again after our break, but if you need to leave early, please do message Jenna in the chat box and let her know. We've got some important things to talk through today, so we just want to make sure we know who's here and if anyone needs to leave. Okay. Next, this is the only thing we're voting on today. So you received the notes from our November meeting earlier in the week from Linda. Are there any questions, any comments about those meeting notes? Okay, and if not, then we will need to approve the meeting notes. We will need a motion and a second.
Brittany moved to approve November 2023's minutes.
Thanks, Brittany. And then do we have a second?
This is Alex Hollett. I'll second that motion.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Alex. Okay, so since we're doing this virtually, let's do it. If you do not approve the minute notes, make some indication, either raise your hand or put that in the chat. Just let us know if you do not agree and approve. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So motion has been approved, and we have just approved the minute notes from November. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Okay, so we're really excited to update you and happenings since our last meeting. I'm going to ask Maggie West to talk for a few minutes about our apprenticeship program, and we're going to show a video, which we'll have to stop sharing our slide deck and move to the video, so patience with the technology. But Maggie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. So to share an update on our apprenticeship program, we wanted to highlight that in collaboration with our partners at Durham PreK, we officially and ceremonially launched the Durham Early Childhood Educator Associate Degree Apprenticeship Program in the fall with an apprenticeship signing day. So that was an opportunity to recognize our inaugural cohort of 41 apprentices alongside their 23 mentors and 14 partnering employers, and really have an evening to celebrate each of them as they expand their journeys in the field of early childhood education. We had over 100 guests in attendance at the signing day and hosted it at Durham Tech, which was lovely. We had state leaders from Building Bright Futures and Apprenticeship NC join us, both of whom have been key partners in developing this apprenticeship program. And while Governor Cooper couldn't attend himself, he did send along a video message that we wanted to share with you all if the technology can cooperate for us. So let's see. I think Adrienne was going to share her screen.
Yes, doing that now. Oh, I can't share.
I shall have to stop sharing.
Yes, yeah, stop sharing for this.
Thank you all for your patience. While it's pulling up, I'll just go ahead and share a few more updates that you'll see in the deck on the next slide, which is just to give you a sense of kind of where we are in the growth of the program. So we've really been thrilled by the response so far from interested participants. So we've connected with almost 150 current or aspiring educators who are interested in completing higher degrees and furthering their careers in early childhood education. About 108 of those are candidates for the apprenticeship program specifically, including about 90 who are interested in associate degrees and 19 who are interested in bachelor's degrees. As I mentioned, we've officially registered 41 apprentices to date. And then that's at 14 different sites. So it's really a growing group, and we've been really thrilled by our employers' partnership and collaboration, as well as the engagement of so many interested apprentices. And looks like our video is ready.
Hi, everybody. Governor Roy Cooper here. I'm glad to join you all today during National Apprenticeship Week to celebrate a new class of early childhood educator apprentices and the start of a fantastic program. With 13 partnering employers, this program will be the largest for early childhood education in the state. That's something to be excited about. Our state's early childhood educators do such amazing work to support children and families across North Carolina. We must invest in education from cradle to career. High-quality early childhood education is critical for children's development, and your efforts are helping young children to learn, grow, and play. And apprenticeships are also a great way for employers to grow their talent locally. There are so many smart and hardworking students in classrooms right now, and youth apprenticeship programs help employers find and keep talent. Youth apprenticeship programs don't just offer students a job. They offer the first step to a great career. Congratulations, guys. I look forward to seeing all the great work you'll do for yourself, your families, and our state in the future. Thanks so much, and have a great event.
Awesome. Thanks, Adrian. And just a couple more updates while they're switching back to the slide deck from the apprenticeship program. We also had the opportunity to visit Charlotte Bilingual Preschool in the fall to learn more about their early childhood educator apprenticeship program, which has been established for about 3 years and has about 8 participants per year in the program. We've been especially eager to learn from them because they have a really incredible track record of supporting, excuse me, my computer's ringing, of supporting bilingual educators specifically, and really intentional around developing more Spanish-speaking early childhood educators working in classrooms with children. And that's a key piece that we want to replicate here for Durham Pre-K. And then one more update is that we continue to work with North Carolina Central and UNC Greensboro on developing a bachelor's degree track within the apprenticeship program. As far as we know, it's going to be the first bachelor's degree oriented apprenticeship program specifically in North Carolina. So we still have some details to work through in that regard, but have been grateful for their continued collaboration and excited to build that full pathway towards birth to kindergarten licensure. So thank you.
So the slideshow that was playing is available in a link, and that link will be on the notes from this meeting that you'll get afterwards. It's also on the real agenda that we'll send you, not the pieced together agenda you got this morning with the power outage. So there's a link to it if you want to see it at your leisure.
And I just want to dive in and speak on behalf of Durham Tech. We are thrilled with apprenticeship. I can just selfishly say that I am loving how our enrollment is very big right now in our 100 level courses, and it's all because of apprenticeship. Maggie is working really hard going out to all the child care centers and really connecting with our apprentices and then helping them navigate the Durham Tech enrollment and registration process, which is sometimes challenging. So just thrilled with all things apprenticeship and really excited to see it continue to grow and thrive.
Thank you, Kathy. It would not be happening without Kathy there on the inside, making it all work. So thank you.
Yeah, the team has been doing a great job, and it is gratifying in the community when I was meeting recently with the director of the LEAP program, which is a half-day program in Durham, and she was conveying many things, but one of which was how their excitement at having apprentices. They have one, and they're shortly going to have a second one, and her just sheer joy as an early educator to have the opportunity to work with folks who are interested in the career, who are pursuing their education through an apprenticeship model. It was just, it's very gratifying. We really appreciate it. Just quickly for context, that project, the apprenticeship project, is part of the scope of work for Durham PreK. And because part of our scope of work with Durham County is to work collaboratively across the community to build capacity in our workforce so that we can meet that goal of having universal access to public preschool. We can't do that without highly qualified teachers. And so that workforce development piece is a key component and part of our scope of work in the Durham County contract. However, the program is not restricted to Durham PreK sites. It is available to early childhood programs across Durham, and we are specific to Durham with this project. So just a little bit of context for you. So Maggie, did you have anything else you'd like to share?
Nope, I can pass it to Tamara. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, good morning again, everyone. For DPK updates, Durham PreK enrollment is enrollment in locally funded seats is about at 93% at the moment. We are gearing up for our 2024-2025 school year application, which opens on February the 5th. Yes, 2024-2025. So our first family info session will be held on February 3rd. So if you don't know, the new application is when families gear up and apply again for the next cycle, which is 24-25. So that's kind of what that means. We want you to be sure to check out our December newsletter featuring interviews with the 2020 National Teacher of the Year, Ms. Rosebrough, and Governance Committee member Beth Messersmith. And the picture here is what Mr. Rutherford referred to earlier, that these are some of the boxes. So each family that was identified by each of our sites received a Thanksgiving meal along with a whole turkey. And so they came to our office to pick those up the week before Thanksgiving. Some more DPK updates. The 2024-2026 RFA continues. This is a joint application process between NC PreK and Durham PreK. The site applications are due by January 26th. That means that entities, sites throughout Durham apply to be a part of NC PreK and or Durham PreK, and that application is due on January 26th, which is next week. And then the application opens the next week for the families. Next, we have City Health awarded Durham a gold medal in the area of high quality accessible pre-K for policies that improve access to early childhood education. Just a little fun fact, another fact. And then also on our social media, as Ms. Stevens shared, we are showcasing family testimonial, Fun Fact Fridays, and weekly recaps. We currently have a paid Facebook advertising announcing the February application opening. And our picture here is some members of Durham PreK and actually NC PreK here at the Durham Holiday Parade that was held on December the 9th. And finally, DPK celebrations, site celebrations. First Presbyterian Day School has received NAEYC accreditation. This is a rigorous process that indicates true commitment to high quality education and care for young children. So very, very excited about this accreditation. A lot of hard work was put into this process. And then 2 site directors successfully attained their class observer certifications, and 2 have achieved recertification of the class tool to access the quality of teacher and child interactions. And Ms. Miller Cox is the director of First Presbyterian Day School, which is pictured on here as well. And that is it.
Tamara, appreciate the updates. And you did receive a link earlier in the week to the Durham Pre-K update as a web-based document. And when you get your final packet from this meeting after the server's up, that update will also be included in your handout packet. But those updates are more, there's quite a bit of really exciting things in those updates, and we hope you'll take a chance to look at those. And if you have any questions that come up about anything that's listed there, feel free to reach out and let us know. So we're gonna move into a bunch of data, and I think what we're really trying to do today is begin to set the stage for our March meeting. Just want to tell you in advance that our March meeting, there will be a large number of voting items. And so in order to give you the tools you need to really feel like you can make good decisions, we're doing some foundational work today, giving you information, but we will also, between now and the March meeting, you'll get more emails from us than usual, sharing with you information for you to consider in advance of the March meeting. Because we know that you're not doing this every day as part of your daily deep dive into Durham Pre-K, and we want to be sure that you feel comfortable as we move toward a lot of decision making, that you have what you need to feel like you're making good decisions. And we'll also obviously in March take your temperature around those things we're voting on, and if there are things that we have to defer, we will, but some of them will be timely and need to be decided in March. So we'll try to do a good job of forecasting for you ahead of time so that you have an opportunity to give us feedback ahead of the meeting. So part of what we'll talk about today is where we are around enrollment. And I'll be honest and share with you that we had hoped, January's the time when we typically hope to be able to share with you the full picture of public preschool access in Durham. We're not able to share the full picture with you yet because we don't have all the data yet. And sometimes delays do happen, but we will. Durham County commissioners ask us to report to them every year what the full access looks like in Durham. You'll recall that we have a goal in Durham to reach 75% of the 4-year-old census, to be able to have seats for 75% of 4-year-olds in Durham. Obviously, as always a volunteer program, but universally available. What we're going to report on you about children today is about enrollment in the seats that we have the information about. And those seats are the ones that the local Durham County dollars are contributing toward. Those of you who are new to this group, in your orientation, you hear us talk all the time about how this program is a collaborative, and we braid resources together in order to maximize the dollars to create as many seats as possible to reach our universal goal. But the local Durham Pre-K dollars are braided across many programs. Those include Head Start, NC Pre-K, Title I, and various other fund sources that create public seats. And we have a mixture of seats. Some seats are 100% locally paid for. Those are what we call Durham Pre-K only seats. And so you see here in this enrolled children chart, you see those types of seats listed out to show you the funding streams. So we have 600 for this school year. We have 653 seats that are being supported by local Durham Pre-K funds in some way. Now, I want to be clear and share with you that Durham County government invests in preschool outside of Durham Pre-K also. There are funds, local dollars that go into the Durham Public School budget directly in support of pre-K, and that is not what we're reporting on right now. These are funds that come into the Durham Pre-K budget and are distributed through our collaborative process. So there are 653 seats this year that are fully or partially paid for with local dollars. And you can see here that they really are spread across different types in terms of braided funding. You recall that we have a mixed delivery model where we have children seated in private child care programs that are under contract to NC Pre-K and Durham Pre-K for care in private sites. We also have children in care at Head Start sites as well as in the public schools. And so, as I said, as we move forward to talk about children in this meeting, we will just be reporting on the 653 seats that we have information about. We also have a goal, just so you know, in our coordination and communication with the county, we are hopeful that each year we will grow by between 40 and 100 seats. Now, you may say to yourself, wow, that's a huge range. The reason it's 40 to 100 is as you can envision and imagine, when you are braiding dollars, your goal is always to spread those local dollars as far as possible. The more children you pay for fully, the fewer seats that you can pay for with the local dollars. And so that 40 to 100 range means that depending upon what other dollars are available, what other funds may be available to come into the budget, then if you don't have as many opportunities to braid, you're going to serve fewer kids. So our goal each year is for that range of 40 to 100 to be hit. And we have a long-term goal to increase funding over time locally. We always have this little mantra we say all the time. We say, Durham County money spent last. That is our goal. We always are trying to spend the local dollars after we have maximized pulling down as many resources as possible from those other sources. So next slide, please. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are fully able to see the slides. I just mentioned that because on my computer, for some reason, the slides are cut off. But if you're not able to fully see, I did email you a copy of the slide deck. And also, of course, we'll be happy to answer any questions that come up. Great. It seems like a lot of you do see the full slide. So good thing I don't need to see the whole thing. These data, as I've already said, are from children who are in Durham Pre-K funded seat or in an NC Pre-K seat at private sites. So those are the two sources that we have information about right now. When we get the information more broadly about the other children that are enrolled through other sources that are not being supported by local dollars, then we will do an update to you so that you'll know. But you can see that our goal is to have a program that touches all the communities within our larger community of Durham. And presently, we have quite a diverse program. The numbers for this year are very similar to past school years. We have this year a smaller enrollment of children who identify as Hispanic or Latinx than we did last year, but it is not an appreciably large number difference. We're staying fairly consistent with the variety of groups that we are serving. Next slide. So the thing to really know about this is that part of your work in governance is you have charged us with prioritizing children who have the greatest need financially in their home. So you have, even though Durham Pre-K has universal access, Durham Pre-K is the fund source that doesn't have the restrictions, the financial restrictions. For example, Head Start has financial restrictions of how much income a family makes for their child to be eligible for Head Start. There are some other factors that make you eligible, but income is one of the big ones. But in Durham Pre-K, we don't have income restrictions. However, you have charged us with making sure we are prioritizing families who are economically challenged. And as you can see here, we are serving quite a range of families through the local dollars. And again, those of you who work in early ed and are familiar with Head Start restrictions, for example, when we get the full range of data about children's eligibility, children who are enrolled, you know that many of those Head Start children will be at or below 100% of federal poverty in terms of their income levels. And so these percentages will change significantly when we move beyond just our local dollars. But however, this is the picture at the present. Any questions before we move to the next? Okay. Okay, so just for context, those of you who don't, live in the weeds of FPL in your work, but just to kind of give you an example, as we shared in the previous slide, 35% of our enrolled children live in homes at less than 100% of the federal poverty level. Well, what does that mean? We wanted to provide you with some context. So for a family, we have those amounts there for a family of 2 and a family of 4, just for your contextual information. But you see there that I'm reminding you that when we get, even though Durham Pre-K doesn't have income restrictions, you have previously voted on a sliding scale policy. When we initially implemented Durham Pre-K, the income level to kick into paying a portion of the cost for care of the sliding scale, in the past, the income eligibility was at a different rate. We were at 200% of federal poverty is when we kicked in to have parents have a copay when we initially began this program. But a couple of years ago, we adjusted, and now families who are at 400% of federal poverty level, they do get a assessment of their income, and they are assessed a parent B, a parent portion, to contribute toward the cost of the program. Now, I'll clarify that when we say the cost of the program, to contribute toward the reimbursement amount. So we reimburse sites at $1,400 a month for the program, but of course that's not the full cost for the program, because there are quality improvement costs and administrative costs and that type of thing. But we are assessing the sliding scale fee based on their income as it relates to that $1,400 a month reimbursement rate. So any questions about that? Right? So also, just to help you for context, because a lot of times people have reservations about when, what kind of income we're talking about when we start saying this is a free program. It's free to families up to 400% of federal poverty. We think it's important for people to understand what it means. We feel strongly that early education is something we want to invest in for all our children. And we know that for many, many families, it is very challenging to pay for high quality childcare. And just for context, these starting salaries give you a picture around those federal poverty guidelines. Okay, continuing to talk about our enrolled children, just to let you know that just about half of our families come from single parent households, 48%, and 51% come from two parent households, with 1% being self-identifying as foster parent arrangements. So that's not surprising. It's consistent with, many programs. And then also our enrollment is half and half for girls and boys. So that's not necessarily consistent with some programs, and something that has been fairly consistent since this program began. Then looking at home language, this is something that we know can be challenging for a child as they transition to school. We know that we want to support dual language learners and families who for whom English is not their first language. And again, these numbers will probably remain fairly similar once we get the full picture of enrollment. There's not any particular reason to expect that these numbers will change significantly in terms of the percentages. Okay, so just the reason that we report out about zip code is because, we've talked with you in the past about the shortage of available public seats in different census tracts and different areas of Durham. And in particular, there's been historically a shortage of seats in South Durham, and, well, frankly, some challenges in different pockets or across Durham. But this is reflective of what the breakdown is in terms of the zip codes in Durham. And if you're a data person and you want to really take a deep dive, we're happy to talk with you on a more granular level about where our children are coming from, what neighborhoods they're coming from, and where they're enrolling. But as you can see, it is obviously spread in some rather interesting ways. I think gentrification, obviously, we all struggle with this issue, and the patterns of housing in Durham have been changing the last few years significantly. And one of the things that we are hopeful we're going to have an opportunity to do is to invest some analysis time to really look at those patterns more deeply of where our children are living and what those changes have been in the last few years of the program. I see your hand up, Ioma.
I'm glad that you said invested in, thank you, invested in more analysis time, just to make sure that obviously where children are first away from opportunity are provided with those opportunities. And so I'm hoping that some of that will be to look at some of the census tract data, because especially with gentrification happening, it's such a sort of move-in complex issue, but being able to use even the 2020 census data and even the Child Opportunity Index, which provides census tract data, and even more refined as needed to be able to lay on that community level information, and also then the actual enrolled children, so that we make sure that we're actually maybe even benchmarking where possible that children who are in certain communities with limited resources are able to actually be prioritized in that way. So I definitely am happy to hear that there'll be a little bit more analyses on that.
Yeah, you'll recall when we did our Durham supply and demand analysis, one of the things that we were really concerned about was how many public seats were available as compared to how many children were potentially living in under-resourced homes. And we did overlay that using the census tracts as well as some other data. And the thing is that was done in 2017-18, and we know that in 2024, Durham is a very different place. So it is something that we want to really deeply look at. What we do know is that with the tremendous growth in South Durham, we continue to have high demand for care in South Durham. in terms of a shortage of seating, but that may be changing as additional programs come online. One of the things that we really want to consider, and the quality subcommittee, I'll remind everybody, especially those of you who are new, that this committee, the governance committee, has a quality subcommittee that meets alternate months from governance. And this is the type of really deep dive that group is designed to take. In particular, one of the concerns that the quality subcommittee has talked about quite a bit is this issue of the barrier of transportation as one of the challenges for families that may struggle to be able to get to an early childhood site that has a pre-K seat, and of course the issue of wrap care. So additional analysis is definitely a priority as we talk deeply about these issues, and in particular in the quality subcommittee. And that subcommittee is open for anyone who might like to join. And it is a mixed group of governance members as well as community members and early childhood experts. So thanks for that observation, Ielma. Anyone else?
Linda, Debbie has a question, a comment and a question in the chat. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, sure. Let's see. Right. So that's a great question about enrollment. So Debbie was saying, as far as gender, home language, and family structure, the application process does not select participants based on these factors. That is, as Jenna has answered here, it is mostly correct. We do have some priority groups, as Jenna mentioned, foster families, but the way with a braided program, what we do when families enroll is, because we have a universal application process across all programs, each individual program that has restrictions or requirements, we look at those factors for each application first, and we work through to find the best match for a child, the best match to a seat that will meet their needs in the best way possible. And as far as priority placement, we have not been in the situation yet where we could not serve a priority child. Where we do run into a challenge is we do have waiting lists of many times where a family may really need a particular site. And so we can't always place a child in their preferred location, although we make every effort. But we haven't been in a situation yet where we could not place a child that had a priority need, or could not make an offer. Sometimes the family doesn't accept that placement, but again, we make every effort. And hopefully, does that answer your question, Debbie?
Absolutely, thank you. I was just intrigued by your comment about the male-female gender balance and how that isn't always the case, but we aren't. It's just how it played out last year. There aren't any. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we don't try to achieve a gender balance. We don't have categories for placement and that type of thing. So we're not I know sometimes if you guys have experience with lottery placements and different things like that, sometimes they have different factors they prioritize as they are waiting people to place them, but we do not presently have any of those. Okay, next slide. Okay, you've seen this slide many times if you've been to a couple of meetings. This is just basically updating you on where we are in terms of our commitment to spreading the dollars around. If you are a person who has an amazing memory, you may remember that, for example, the Durham PreK Head Start kind of buff colored circle there, the last meeting had a number in there. This is a dynamic environment. Sometimes children move around, or sometimes we move their placement. So I do want to highlight this as you learn about this program and as you think about future decision making. We take very seriously our charge to spend local money last. And so we are constantly looking at our placements. And if we find that a child had eligibility in a different category, so if we don't move them to a different school, if we learn they had eligibility somewhere, but if we have a seat available, we will move them over in the payment process. So it's not a problem for families. It's seamless for families. It's not a change or a disruption for the child. It's that we are deliberately trying to make sure we're maximizing those dollars and moving children around in their fund source as we are able to. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes it does also happen that a child left and they haven't been replaced and that type of thing. So it just depends, but it is a very dynamic environment. And again, especially for those of you who are new, I just want to reiterate that this is a collaborative. Durham PreK, we have local Durham PreK dollars, but Durham PreK is very much an umbrella term where we are trying to have we are trying to meet Durham's universal access goal. And all the different public sources for preschool are working together in Durham to try to achieve that goal. And that is very different. If you look at the landscape of preschool across North Carolina and across the country, there are not a large number of communities that are working together as tightly as Durham is in terms of having a universal application, having a true collaborative process where you're really working together to try to serve as many children as possible. That doesn't happen in every community. So it is something that Durham has invested in very strongly. Next slide. So we're at our break and we're only a couple minutes behind. So Kathy?
We're doing great. And thank you for all of those great updates. And it really does speak to just that power of collaboration that Durham has. It really is such a great model of how this universal pre-K can work. So 5-minute break. It is 10:33 right now. So we will resume at 10:38. Remember, if you need to leave before this break ends, please let Jenna know. Or if you need to leave before the meeting ends at 11:30, please let Jenna know. All right, 5-minute break, everybody. See ya at 10. Well, it's 10:34. See you at 10:39. Bye. Okay, it's 10:39. Our break is now over, so hopefully you have made it back. And if you have and able to turn your camera on, great. If not, we will just assume you were here and we will continue on with our agenda. So next on the agenda, we are going to be talking about the budget. So Linda?
Yes. So this is going to be a pretty broad discussion because things are, definitely not in stone as yet. But we are deep in the process of creating estimates and working on budget planning for next year, and we do pretty soon in the upcoming weeks. We have an opportunity to have conversation with Durham County about needs and that type of thing. And I think it's really important to know that although we have had the benefit of increases over the last few years, the pandemic really did a number on our plans, the whole world. But we did continue to our trajectory for increasing the resources available for young children. Didn't falter. We have had increasing resources, but the timeline and trajectory didn't match the original plan. And we had a blip during the pandemic where, of course, we didn't serve additional children because of the circumstance. So I think that your role as a governance member is really to work with us on setting those priorities. And we do the budget piece as a housekeeping effort with the county to try to maximize resources and try to identify ways to serve as many children as possible. But really, we're driven by those policies that you set. And we know that coming forth in the spring, we'll be doing some real analysis about our reimbursement rate. We did increase our reimbursement rate twice last school year. We are at a reimbursement rate now of $1,400 per month per child for a fully licensed classroom, for the lead teacher being fully licensed. We do have a tiered reimbursement rate for those classrooms that have teachers working toward licensure. But we know that inflation is a very real and challenging thing, and we know that the cost of quality is very steep. So we continue to work with our providers, work with our community to figure out how best to invest in our children. So when we come back to you in March or possibly in May, one of the things we will be looking at is where should we be reimbursing for the new school year? So that'll be part of it. But we're going to just kind of update you a little bit. I'm going to ask Joy to talk with you a little bit about where we are with our budgeting, and then we're going to talk about we're going to have just a chat, not a vote, but we're going to have some discussion about some priorities in terms of seats related to the growth in Durham Public Schools with the new elementary school opening. So Joy, I'm going to ask you to go ahead.
Thanks, Linda. So just as a reminder, our Durham Pre-K budget's divided into two separate budgets, one for instructional services, which this represents the money going directly to sites to support classroom instruction. This includes the monthly per child reimbursement payments, the teacher compensation support payment that happens monthly, and also the pre-service payment. The program services budget supports system management and system development, includes a lot of things, but among those things are professional development for teachers and directors, and support for families throughout the application process. There's just a couple of things that budget covers. So this slide, you can see the how those budgets have been over time. And for the current school year, we have a little over 5.1 million in instructional services and almost 1.8 million for program services, for a combined total of almost 6.9 million. If you go to the next slide, this is more for those of you who, like me, are more visual. This chart shows the number of seats supported by the local dollars in the green bars, And so you can see our trajectory over time. The dip in 2020, 2021, as Linda mentioned, was due to reduced capacity due to COVID-19. Some of our sites we're not able to enroll as many children with trying to limit the number of children in the classroom for safety reasons. So that's why there's a little dip there. And then you can see some growth since then. And then the orange line is the program services budget over time, and the purple, I think that's purple, is the instructional services, so the classroom payments, the teacher payments, and things like that. And so you can sort of see them in proportion to the number of seats that we've offered over time. And then the other impact on the budget is the parent fees, which Linda was referencing earlier, which are assigned to parents at 400 who are at 400% of the federal poverty level and above. These parent fees are assessed at 2% of the family's monthly income. And that's, just for reference, an income of $120,000 or more for a family of 4. So you can see that this school year we've had an increase both in the number of families who have been assigned a parent fee. This year we had 66, and last year we had 52. But also an increase in the parent fee assigned. So our median monthly parent fee last year was $222. Our median this year is $286 per month. So the result of that is it does mean that the Durham Pre-K budget is spending less. We had anticipated spending around 10, 11,000, that parent fees would cover about $10,000 to $11,000 of the child reimbursement amount per month. And it turns out it's almost $20,000 per month because of these increases, both in the number and in the average parent fee amount. So that is something that impacts the budget, just how the number of parents that get assigned a parent fee and what that parent fee is means that we are spending less and can spread those funds a little bit further, as Linda was mentioning earlier.
So we wanted to just have some discussion and make you aware that if you haven't heard, that there will be a new elementary school opening in Durham. Murray-Massenburg will open in August. We're very excited. It is located off South Roxborough Road in Southern Durham. And you'll recall that year before this one, Lions Farm Elementary School opened also farther, deeper into South Durham. It opened, and you'll recall that in 2019, Durham Public Schools Superintendent Mabanga made a public pledge, a public promise to shift Durham Public School policy around preschool education and to commit to making every effort over time to having at least 2 preschool classrooms in every elementary school, both new ones and existing ones. And the transition for existing schools will continue to take time. There are a lot of different factors that go into placement of preschool classrooms. One factor being that the classrooms, to get licensed through the quality rating system, need to meet some standards that for some schools require some renovation or some work at the school to reconfigure. But there is this commitment that the school district made was pretty cataclysmic in a long time coming, because we know that K-12 obviously has long been their primary focus and what they're charged with through the North Carolina Constitution and the legislative actions. But preschool, we know that investment is what's going to make a difference in the long term for many of our children. And that commitment has been really important. So when Lions Farm opened, it did open and with 2 preschool classrooms. And we're really excited that Murray-Massenburg is slated to open with 3 preschool classrooms. Now, that's fabulous, and we're super excited about that. But one of the factors that I want us to be sure governance understands and is aware of and has an opportunity to talk about, we're not calling for any kind of voting or anything around this issue, but we want to have some discussion about this idea of opening of the way that we allocate resources. We've had a long commitment to having a balance of public and private sites, locations for families for preschool, and we continue to adhere to that and have a commitment to both public and private site locations. But we have not been called upon in the past to really set aside funds for a large number of seats at one time at one location. And so this is new. It's a great opportunity for the community for us to continue our goal of expansion. And we are also, as we previously mentioned, we're in an RFA year, a request for applications in the community of programs who are interested in becoming Durham Public School, Durham PreK public preschool sites. So for the school year 24-25, we don't know yet for sure where our private preschool locations will be because we're receiving applications. We also don't know what locations our public sites will be because that RFA process really is a competitive review process. But with the commitment to Durham Public Schools, we have previously committed to opening schools with preschool classrooms. And so just wanted to lift it up and make you aware that the public schools have requested that we plan for 45 seats at Murray-Massenburg this fall, and wanted to really bring that forth for some discussion.
So Linda, quick question. The RFAs are out now for the sites. By our March meeting, will that process be finished? No. Okay.
April.
April. Okay.
Just for clarity around that, we, again, like we do with this entire process in Durham, we have a very collaborative process. Durham PreK doesn't run a separate RFA. What we do is we partner with NC PreK, and we follow the NC PreK RFA requirements from the state. And so that timeline is inclusive of both Durham PreK seats as well as NC PreK seats. And the state requires the NC PreK School Readiness Committee to review the potential sites and to vote to approve them. So what we do with Durham PreK is we wait until they've done that, and then we move on from there. We do have some Durham PreK sites that are not also NC PreK sites, but as we've said before, with our pledge for braided funding, we do try to collaborate and work together to have those seats be braided whenever possible. I see Jamika has her hand up too.
Thank you, Linda. I just wanted to kind of give a couple of points of thought with regard to this. One, when we did open the RFA process, we did include Murray-Massenburg as one of the schools that the public schools can apply for through the RFA process, to the best of their ability, knowing that, they may not know all of the information, but we could get some information from that. And also, while currently there are 2 sites that don't have braided funds with NC PreK and Durham PreK, we do anticipate those 2 sites applying for both in this RFA process. So NC PreK's goal as well is to further to braid the funding as well, because again, it definitely allows for us to spread the funding a little bit further out, as has previously been mentioned. And so I just wanted to kind of throw those 2 points of information out there as well.
Thanks, Jamika. Any other thoughts or just questions, discussions around this? Around this topic of the 45 seats, about any of the other slides regarding placement, enrollment?
I don't know if it would be helpful to just share a little more. To Jamika's point, we are in the process of completing the RFA that is in motion in support of this as well. As you all, I hope, are aware, we're undergoing the Growing Together implementation, which will launch fully for the next school year. So Murray-Massenburg is a critical school capacity site for the district, but also to ensure there are two important pieces that we were trying to do with Growing Together. We will have 18 children in our pre-K classrooms, and 15 of which will be, for all intents and purposes, more the gen ed seats, but we always reserve 3 seats for children who are identified exceptional children. So we are providing instruction in an inclusive setting for our children. And what we opened with 3 classrooms, what this is going to allow us to do is we are aligning children who are in special needs but need a self-contained program. So for instance, our highly structured autistic children, if they're in a self-contained autistic program, we're trying to position the K-5 self-contained autistic in the same buildings so that the transitions are minimized. What has happened with Murray-Massenburg, we had 3 classrooms and all 3 of them will be able to serve the universal pre-K programs. So we're just trying to get out in front of it. As you all may be aware, the state funding formula that comes from North Carolina and the Department of Public Instruction and the legislature funds kindergarten through 12th. It does not fund. So we don't draw down any state dollars for pre-K. So we either rely heavily on NC pre-K, Durham pre-K, and our federal dollars to offer these services. So just really trying to get out in front of this, laying the opportunity out in front of all of us, and then determining how the funding might land so that we can serve more children in Durham Public Schools as the commitment has been made by our superintendent. So I hope that helps a little more.
Thanks, Debbie. June, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm understanding because I'm working on the RFA right now for our site. So it was my understanding from Jamika that when we put these applications in, we put our maximum number of seats that we think we might have, right? I think I'm right about that. So, but the fact that you put that doesn't necessarily mean that the site's going to get that number of seats, isn't that right? Because I think it depends on who applies, how many applications you get, and all that kinds of things. And so one of the issues, because I'm a provider, I'm speaking to providers now, one of the issues for the private providers has been that some of the sites haven't been getting enough seats, and that affects their budgets and, you know, their enrollment and all the rest of it. So I guess I'm trying to understand how this is going to work for the overall number of seats that might be available for any sites in the area. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So, and we are going to, in some of our additional information in today's meeting, we're going to talk a little bit about vacancies. So there's 2 issues. One is seat allocation, and the other is enrollment. So your questions really impact both. So the question is there demand in Durham? Is there enough demand for the 45 seats as well as other new seats to be additional, or are we looking at a situation where we may be supplanting current enrollment? Our goal, based on the number of children, 4-year-olds who reside in Durham, is to continue that growth trajectory by expanding access, by having additional children, not supplanting existing seats with new locations. And so this is something we would be weighing very heavily. But there are 2 issues. So with providers that have concerns, as June mentioned, we want to acknowledge and be fully transparent in this group, we've talked a lot about the impact of vacancies and budgeting and reimbursement. We asked through the RFA process a site that's interested in being part of the program, we asked them to tell us how many seats they believe they would have available if they were selected. And it is true that some sites may ask for a lot more seats than they are allocated. It doesn't happen that often, but it has happened. It does happen for some sites. Our goal is to be sure we're a part of a positive budget and not creating a budget challenge for providers. And so when we are allocating seats, we work very closely with NC Pre-K as well as with our other partners to make sure whenever possible, we're giving enough seats to create a whole classroom. If that site said they had space and desire for a full classroom, we try not to chop up, so to speak, classrooms, but we work closely with the provider. If they are selected as a potential provider, we try to work closely with them to balance and be sure we're allocating the right number of seats for their needs as well as for the community need. Excuse me. Now that's different than enrollment. We have a goal, of course, of filling every seat. We know, though, that it is a very dynamic environment, and we always try to plan for between a 10 and 15% vacancy rate, because we know in the real world, family situations change. And so the problem comes in when some sites are challenged to enroll fully for various reasons. And sometimes that may be location. Sometimes it may be that our applicant pool is not lining up the way we originally anticipated. Our goal is always to fill all the allocated seats. And with the online of a new site, any new site, not just a public school site, but any new site, and with growth, we have to balance and make sure that we are bringing schools online that are not only able to meet the high quality standards, but are accessible for families. They're in the right place, that families can get there, that they want their children to attend. You can imagine how many different balls are in the air to balance. But our priority is to make sure that in particular, our private childcare community be able to sustain their involvement with public preschool. So we don't want to do anything to undermine their experience or their enrollment. And that's why we work together to beef up our outreach and enrollment activities. I will say that I have had some private providers frustrated because they feel some have indicated that they feel there's not enough enrollment activity going on. There's not enough outreach into the community to make families aware and to encourage their enrollment. And what we say to everyone is that this is a community activity. We have to all work together to make sure that families know about the opportunity, and that families, if they choose not to send their 4-year-old, it's an intentional decision and not that they weren't aware of the opportunity. So we have to balance the outreach and enrollment activities along with placement. So yes, June, you're right to bring that issue up, and it is a delicate dance. We do have high demand in South Durham, and we believe that we need to expand and have different seats based on the feedback we've had from the community. But there are some sites, which we'll talk some more about enrollment a little bit later in the slide deck, but there are some sites that do struggle with enrollment, and we continue to work with them about what their issues are.
And if those sites are reapplying for next year, is that part of the placement consideration? Like, are there conversations and action plans in place for? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so sites that historically have struggled, first of all, the RFA is open to anyone. any site, if they're able to meet the standards. Some sites have struggled with their ability to meet the standards, and that's an issue that we have quality improvement activities around and work with them to improve. Some sites have struggled with enrollment based on a lot of other factors. And yes, track record, historical enrollment, those kind of things are an important factor in looking at allocation of seats, because we can't. So some people feel strongly that we should place children regardless of parent desire and input. And that's really not where Durham is as a community. We try to make sure that we, wherever possible, that we are able to honor parent preferences. That's what the public schools do. That's what Durham does. And so for some sites that struggle with enrollment, we have a limited ability to encourage strongly families to decide to enroll there. But we have to work together to make sure that parents know about the great programs and what's going on at the programs so that they will know and feel comfortable with their site placement. Other questions?
I've got one more question, which I think this isn't obvious, but I just want to ask it. So are families who enrolled in Durham Public School pre-K classrooms, they still pay parent fees if they are above the guidelines?
Yes.
Okay,
they do.
just making sure.
Yeah, they do.
Unless they're exceptional children.
Right, unless they have an identified need that would put them into support services that don't allow for fees.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
And that's part of why it's so important that we invest in developmental screenings. We work with families to try to assure their child's getting their appropriate needs met. It's a complex process of it's not just across the board, oh, your income is here, you're automatically going to be paying. It depends on what their eligibility factors are. Okay, so I had asked Monty to help us with our time, and we are at least about 10 minutes over. What we will do, some of the next slides, although very important for your knowledge, they are not as important in terms of us going over them today. So I'm going to speed through some of these, and you can feel free to reach out if you have questions. If you can take a little bit of time and look at that information that's sent to you, it'd be great. So to let you know, we report back to you on the things you ask us to report back on, and you've asked us in the past to be sure and keep you up to date about what our instructional staff picture looks like. We know that the workforce is very challenging in early education, in education in general, and we do deeply track what our staffing looks like at the sites. Just that this slide just gives you some comparison, looking at you'll be from this slide. If you're newer, you may say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean eligible for a supplement? You're reminded that we pay the site, we don't pay the teacher directly, we pay the site a teacher support payment that helps them pay the higher salaries we require. We require that all lead teachers in Durham Pre-K get paid on the Durham Public School scale, and that is a significant salary increase compared to traditional childcare. And so we know we have to help support those salaries. So basically this year looks like we're on track to spend almost $400,000 in teacher support payments. And we are pretty much where we thought we would be. We try to do a lot of work to forecast that spending. Obviously, again, it's like landing on a dime because hiring changes and things happen. So next slide. Just to let you know the general picture of our teams. We work hard to try to have a diverse staff and to have our lead teachers and our instructional assistants to mirror our community and to meet our children in ways that reflect their communities. So we do have quite really diverse staff, and we continue through our apprenticeship program, we continue to try to provide supports to encourage more teachers to go into the field. You'll recall that our equity plan developed by the quality subcommittee with endorsement and approval from the governance committee does prioritize trying to increase the number of teachers who identify as Latinx in order to align our teaching staff completely with our children's population. So we are continuing to invest in all community members who are interested in pursuing early education. So next slide. We also have a wide range of languages on our teams, and we're fortunate to have, we'd like to have more language diversity, but we do have some. And then, as is often typical in education, we have a majority female population of educators. So with our Debbie had a question. Joy, with the survey, help me with Debbie's question about whether all the numbers are inclusive of both teachers and instructional assistants. Some of them are, some of them are not. So
the ones you just went through are teachers and assistants. These ones that are starting to talk about license status are just lead teachers, but all the demographic info is teachers and assistants.
I thought so, but I didn't want to misspeak. So, excuse me, talking about lead teachers, we do, as we previously mentioned, we have a tiered reimbursement model. When a teacher is fully licensed, the site is reimbursed at a higher rate to really address those additional costs. And presently, our private sites, one of our goals is to try to support them in accessing and hiring certified staff, fully licensed staff. Next slide. Okay, so this slide, when you first look at it, it's a little mind-blowing, but when you really look at it, it's really attempting to provide you with a good visual that shows all three of our program site types have about the same percentage of teachers with 0 to 5 years of experience, but showing you that Durham Public Schools has the largest portion of teachers with really senior experience, 16 plus years. And so we do keep track of these things in order to assure that we're trying to provide supports that are appropriate to meet our goals of really focusing on high quality instruction. Those of you that have been around, you remember that we say that our high quality teaching, our theory of change is that we invest in teachers, and that's what makes the difference. So it's really important that we keep up with that. Next slide. So we're going to move in and we're moving away from our teacher demographics and instructional staff information. So I want to just, before we move on, does anybody have any other questions about that? Okay, well, if you think of any, let us know. So also you asked us to report back to you about the classroom bonuses. You did pass permission to pay for a classroom bonus the end of last school year. We did, as you asked us to do, we did survey them. The Durham PreK providers from the 22-23 school year were surveyed. We asked them about the impact of the classroom bonus that they received. They received it in June of 2023. And we did have 53% of providers respond to the survey. And they do, not surprisingly, they reported that the bonus was impactful. But more importantly, you asked us, next slide, you asked us to talk to you about how it was used, because you'll recall, those of you who were members at that time, we had a lot of debate about whether to restrict the bonus or not. what to do in terms of how to give a bonus and what the strings on the bonus would be. And you did vote to not put strings on the bonus. And so you asked us to find out how it was used. So this slide is reflective. We asked them to check all the ways they use their bonus. And all what was interesting to us and important to make sure you knew was that all the respondents did say that at least a portion of their bonus was spent on classroom materials. And so I think that there was a lot of concern about giving an unrestricted bonus, but as you can see, I think that program sites' needs are very diverse and they've used it in a variety of ways. Next slide.
Hey, Linda, it's Christy. Can
Uh-huh.
I make a comment?
Yeah.
What I think is really interesting as we're thinking, if you want to go back one slide, just that's what I'm going to reference. One of the things that's very interesting as we're trying to, convince the legislature and others to continue stabilization grants, while they used it for classroom materials of some sort or another, the top two things other than that they used it for was compensation and some of those fixed costs like utilities and rent, which is what our stabilization grants covered. And so, this is NC Pre-K, which many of them, if they were NC Pre-K only, were not eligible, but many of our private sites were. And I think it just continues to show the need that our facilities still need that to be able to, sustain their businesses. So it's just something to keep in the back of our mind and something we could also say, even in programs that have so much gracious funding by the county and other sources, it's still very, very concerning that we're still not where we need to be. So just a comment. Thank you.
That's a great point and so true. Next slide. So that and toward that, we did ask them what was the most important use for the classroom bonus. The majority of those stated that those classroom materials was the most important for them at that point. But they did talk very much about the fact that this assistance was across the board something that contributed to their sustainability of their business. And I think that, that speaks to what you were saying. Okay, next slide. So we're moving into the category of reporting back to you about the change in the way that you developed your payment policy. So those of you who were with us during the pandemic, you recall that Durham Pre-K voted to mirror, with the county's permission, voted to mirror the state NC Pre-K program in changing the way providers were paid for the program. So during the pandemic, the state changed and decided to pay for children's seats based on the seat allocation, regardless of attendance or enrollment. And that was a move to try to sustain the early education programs through the very, very difficult period of the pandemic. Of course, we know that some of those challenges continue, but coming out of the pandemic, after a 2-year school cycle, the state decided to change back and to only pay on enrollment and attendance. So we wrestled with this issue because we know that it is not palatable to many in our community to pay for an empty seat. The goal is always to fill a seat and to serve children and families. But our early education programs have to sustain their business and they have to be able to plan in their budgeting. So we spent a lot of time last year coming up with strategies to replace paying on allocation and going back to paying on enrollment attendance while being sensitive to the fact that vacancies have a huge impact on providers. Now we're at the latter part of our meeting. We're almost out of time. And this is where I was saying to you that we have a we have a more detailed write-up of our survey of providers about this issue. So I'm going to send you a document that describes really deeply this information, and we will talk about it some more in March. But in December of 2023, as you asked us to do, we did invite all the Durham Pre-K providers to complete a survey really regarding the impact of this payment model, the change on their programs. What we did, and thank you very much to Joy and her team, we used their enrollment at that time and calculated what we projected their full reimbursement was going to be for this school year, so that we gave them some information ahead of time to put into perspective and context their reimbursements for the year. And then we did ask them to respond about our change. You voted to create a pre-service payment. This was a very progressive move on your part. We haven't been able to find very many, or if any, programs around the country that are doing this type of model. You developed and approved a pre-service payment that is calculated at 15% of their projected yearly reimbursement. And it was paid as an additional payment. So they get paid for 10 months of service to children, and then they get an additional payment that's hopefully in advance of the school year. For some sites, they got it a little later because they didn't get their contracting in place fully. But the pre-service payment was designed to help with cash flow, to help with their this issue about vacancies. The idea was that we were trying to account for up to a 15% vacancy rate. And so if your enrollment was not at 100%, this pre-service payment would help you in addressing your budget. So again, we're going to send you a lot of information about this, but what we found when we did the analysis, we found that we do still have we have 3 sites, 3 providers, private sites, 3 private sites for whom the change from being paid on allocation, regardless of if there was a child enrolled, changing back to an enrollment and attendance model, 3 sites that would experience this school year a decrease in their reimbursement, even with the pre-service payment. And that's what this is showing you. And then we do have 21 private sites that received additional, that would get an additional amount of money based on this change. And so, however, if you are in that group that is getting less resources, it is certainly a very stressful thing. It was a very big deal to go back to paying on enrollment and attendance. Next slide. So we did survey, as we said. We asked them, after we shared with them what we projected their payments to be, we did ask them to tell us all the ways they spent the pre-service payment, because you asked us to report back, because we projected that it would help with cash flow, but we know that there are lots of competing needs in programs. So, we asked them to report on all the ways they use their payment. And from that, we found that 4 of the providers indicated that they only use their pre-service payment on 1 item. 3 were on materials, and 1 was on the teacher compensation package. So I think that even though we're paying this pre-service payment with the idea that it's to help with cash flow over the year, many programs use those funds to take care of immediate needs. And that's, reality. I do think that the pre-service payment is an innovation, but it is not the full answer to this challenge of how we sustain our high quality programs. Next slide. So the key question to the providers, because you'll recall, and those of you who are new, we can just let you know that we had a lot of provider feedback about the change back to paying on enrollment and attendance. That is historical in North Carolina, that that's how the NC Pre-K program pays, but it has never been popular, of course, for obvious reasons among providers. The responses to this question really were evenly split, with half of the providers saying yes, the pre-service payment did alleviate their concerns regarding the program's vacancy rate, but the other half saying no, that their concerns were not alleviated. And we did give them an opportunity to elaborate on their response to the question. And that's why we want to provide you with an in-depth document that talks more about their answers and give you an opportunity to really review and study that. But one of the things we know is that for providers, they are looking at the long lens of their experience. And so when they answer this question, they're not basing their answer, I mean, not to speak for them, but in general, they're not answering the question based on this 1 year and what it looks like. They're answering the question based on how deeply they've been concerned over time about vacancy rates. And so you can see the complexity that when we had years of low enrollment, that directly impacts that bottom line and the ability to sustain, the business. And one of the things we see more and more is kind of a divide between providers who feel that the recruitment efforts need to be everybody else's job, and the other group that embraces the idea that recruitment and enrollment is everybody's job. We kind of have this split. And I think it's a vacancy rates are complex. And what I said earlier is we want families who don't enroll their 4-year-old to intentionally decide that Durham Pre-K and or public preschool is not for them. Not that they didn't know about the opportunity, but in order to really make sure families know about the opportunity, we have to have everyone working together to do that outreach and to work hard on enrollment. And I think that it's just a really complex issue. So I'm going to be quiet. We have 3 minutes before our meeting closes. And I do want to be sure that if you have a burning question, that we give you a chance to ask it. But we will be revisiting this obviously in the future. And I hope you will find some time in your busy schedule to read through some of the stuff that we'll send you about this issue.
Thanks, Linda. Okay, what questions or comments or thoughts do you have? All right, I'm not hearing anyone or seeing anything in the chat. Well, thank you so much, Linda, for going through all of this complex information. And I look forward to receiving more information from the providers about their experiences through all of this. Thank you all for attending the Governance Committee meeting today. We have our next meeting, March 21st. It will also be virtual from 9:30 to 11:30. I have a feeling that's going to be a pretty heavy, full meeting, so come prepared to be very busy and actively engaged. And then our next in-person meeting will be May the 16th. Darnella, I see your hand. Go for it.
Thank you. I just want to apologize to you guys. I had an ongoing issue here at the center, so I really wasn't attentive as I would like. And I kind of sensed at the end that I should have added some feedback there. So once I get the notes, I'll probably address it within the notes and be forward to sharing just my take on it in March. I was just really distracted this meeting because there was something going on in the center. So please forgive me for that.
Sure. Thanks,
Yeah,
Darnella.
no, we appreciate it. And also remember that the video, these meetings are live streamed and the recording is on the Durham PreK YouTube channel. We invite any, they're publicly available if you want to revisit anything we talked about also.
Okay, everybody. Well, that is the end of our meeting today. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you again in March. Bye. Oh,
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question. The May 16th meeting is from 9:30 to 11:30 also?
Yes,
Okay.
and it is both in person and virtual available.
Okay.